Hi, good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning. I can hear you now.
How you doing?
Good.
Sorry, not sorry. I wanted waiting for a while here, but I think we'll be here for 9 minutes. So let's wait for 1, 2 minutes, then we'll begin proper.
Hello.
Hi,
Okay.
how you doing?
Fine. I wanted to be sure that I'm on the same page.
Yeah, you're on the same page. I'm just waiting just like a minute or two so people can come in for start. Um, I think we have a reasonable number now, so we can start. So hello everybody. We'll continue from where we stopped yesterday, or more or less like move on from where we stopped yesterday. So we discussed arrays, objects, and objects most especially. We talked about how to create an object, what makes up an object, how to nest an object, how to access value in objects. I also went on to show us real life situations of what objects are all about, how you receive data from the backend about what objects are and how we work with objects basically. So today we'll be talking about functions. Now, functions are one of the most important aspects of JavaScript. So think of it like an act. So let's say, for instance, now our daily routine. You wake up in the morning. For some of us, we pray first. Then we go on to brush our teeth. Then we go on to take breakfast. Then we go on to either we go to school or we go to work. Then when you're in school, you receive lectures, you do this, you do that. Now, if you look at the routines throughout your day, there are functions basically split in multiple parts. So there's a function for getting up, there's a function for prayer, there's a function for brushing your teeth, there's a function for going to work. If you are trekking, if you are walking, if you are flying, if you are commuting with vehicle, every basic stuff you do can be segregated into functions. Now, the combination of all those functions makes up your day. That's how it works in JavaScript also. So let's assume we are trying to build like a very, very big application. So for that application, you first off, once you log in or once you access the website, so you go www.theapplicationwebsite.com, you see a login page or a sign up page. Once you click on log in and you're not logged in, it returns an error that, oh, you're not logged in, kindly sign up. If you click on the sign up button, it moves you to the sign up page. Then you complete your process of signing up, then you click sign up. All those processes, all those actions are being controlled by a function. So there's a function to check if a user is logged in. Once the user clicks on login, it calls the function. Then the function runs on the background and performs that checks. If the user is authenticated or is logged in, then it reroutes the user maybe to the dashboard or whatever. Do you understand? Now, there's another function that runs, or that same function checks, okay, if this person is not logged in, then let's propose to him to sign up. Do you understand? When you click on the sign up button, after completing the process and you press sign up, there's a function that runs that checks if all the content, all the details you enter is correct. So once you do that, then it checks, okay, yes, this function is correct or this data is correct. Let me allow them sign up. You can go on to say, okay, verify your email. A function that verify emails is there. Enter OTP. A function that validates your OTP is there. Then forget your password. A function that checks if the new password and the old one is the same. If what you entered for your new password and confirm password is the same, all those things are functions. So you have to take this particular segment very, very important because on the long run, when you become like a real life developer, you work with function almost all the time. So moving forward, I'll share my screen now and I'll show us how we can create function, how we can invoke function, how we can apply functions, and the different aspects to functions basically. So give me a moment. Let me share my screen. Um, in school. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
No, we
No.
can't see it yet.
Okay. What about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll go with my normal routine. So first off, let me bring this down. Down, yes. Then, like what we'll do normally, we'll come on here and open a new folder. So we'll name the folder, we'll put it outside. We'll name the folder 005. Customarily, we'll come and open our index.html. Then we'll also come here and open our app.js. So we'll come here and do this. Then we'll get our boilerplate. Then we'll come and say source or script rather, our source. Then add this. I'm missing out something here. Can somebody tell me what I'm missing out? Anybody?
Differ.
Why we adding the far?
So that it will carry it along. It will not be saying it.
Thank you. So you're adding the far key here. So once your app is running,
Sorry, please, can
it's
you
also
zoom your screen a bit? Just
yeah,
zoom.
definitely. Yeah, I was getting to that part. So let's go to the Zoom. Is this okay or I should go one more?
It's okay, it's okay.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. So let's now start from the beginning or the beginning. So let's confirm our app is routed first. So let's come to our JavaScript and let's say console.log hello world. So let's go and start our live server. Start live server. Automate endpoint. Live server starting. So for this one, do what we do. Open our incognito tab. So let's come here and paste this. Let's do it. So let's check our console and see if we see hello world. So I'll shift this here. I'll clear it. You have our hello world here, so it's working. And I'll zoom it in so we can see it clearly. Yes. So our setup is complete. So let's go back to our VS Code now. And let's talk about functions. So there are two ways to define your functions or two ways to construct a function. So ordinarily, or what I prefer personally, yeah. And this is just based on preference. If you go out there, you see like many scenarios where people call their functions differently. And you also get to see many scenarios where people also call their functions differently. But to call your function or to declare your function, you can just simply say, you can use the function keyword. Then you put your function name or variable name. So let's say as pop as always add two numbers. Then you call this function here. So this particular bracket here accept parameters. So this is where you add your parameters. So let's just put parameters. And this curly bracket here is where all the magic happens. So this is like a simple way to declare a function. You use your function key, you use your function name or the variable name, then there's a bracket. So this particular bracket has your parameters. Then there's this block here or this curly braces where your code executes basically. This is one way to create a function, declare a function. You can also say const add three numbers. We can't use two numbers again because we already have two numbers here. And we'll say it's equals to this bracket. Then we'll do this. This is another way to declare a function. So this is where your parameter also comes in. Now there are use cases for this, or there are where it's advisable to use this particular kind of function call, and there's also where it's advisable for you to use particular function call. I will illustrate it to us moving forward, but I want to just make it known to us that you can do this if you want to call, declare a function. You can use this particular method, or you can use this particular method. Either ways, it works well. So let's illustrate that. Our parameters here would be two numbers because we're adding two numbers, a plus b or let's not A plus. We accept A, we're accepting B. So we are accepting two parameters here, A and B. So what are we going to do with this A and B? Like I said in the previous class, we want to add A and B. But if we say A plus B, now this is the add two numbers. I think basically if we want to do this now, okay, we're accepting A and B and we're adding A and B. I've explained that to us earlier, but let's illustrate it. So as usual, I'll do our console log, then we'll add two number, console log. Yes. Then we'll say add two number. Then we'll provide the two numbers. So let's say 3 and 4. Now, before we check the console, I want to illustrate what happens here automatically. So we are calling this particular function now add two numbers and providing the parameters. Now, the 3 here automatically becomes A and the 4 here automatically becomes B. So when this function is running, what it does is it takes the first value you are providing as a parameter and assign it to A. It does also the same thing for the second parameter you're passing and assign it to B. What happens automatically is now A becomes 3 and B becomes 4. So we have 3 plus 4. So if we go to our console, we're trying to see 4 in our console. So let's test that out. Let's see. This is our console. Let me clear that out. And we are seeing, let me refresh, and we are seeing undefined. So can any of our gentlemen and women tell us why we are seeing undefined there? Can anybody help us out?
You didn't define the sum.
I didn't define the sum. Let's go back to our code. But our sum is defined here because A is 3 and B is 4. I've already defined it.
Like you
You
didn't assign it to another kidney, then you just return that stuff that you assigned it to as
You
the
didn't
end of the
return
code.
A plus B.
That's the one that I'm looking for. Once you're working in the function, you have to have that return key. So somebody asked the question, if you have like 7 values, do you return everything? No. There can be only one return key in a particular function block. So let's illustrate that and add return here. So if you add return and say A plus B, what happens now is we are saying, okay, take the value for A and take the value for B. Once you do that, give me this value, let me take it back to the owner. So this return keyword basically collects the value and expose it outside this. Do you understand? So why it was telling you undefined earlier is because it happens here. Remember when we discussed about function scope and block scope? You've declared your A and your B and you say, okay, do this and do that. But it doesn't have an effect outside this particular function. Do you understand? So to expose that particular value outside this function, you have to add your return keyword there. So what return does now is to collect this particular value, take the action performed on it, then say, okay, they've said I should add 3 and 4 together. Well, give me the sum of the 3 and 4. Let me tell the person that sent me that this is the answer. So if we go back to our console now and check, we'll be seeing 7, basically. So now 7 becomes our number that we added. If we come here and change the value, let's change it to multiply. If we go back to our console, we'll see 12 because 3 times 4 is 12. Do you understand? So basically, this is how a function key or the function block work. So let's come back here and say, let's duplicate this and let's change the value. Let's say 13 and 14. Now, notice that we don't have to start with declaring another function again to add 2 numbers. No, we have only one function that adds 2 numbers. So if at a point in time, we just need to add only 2 numbers, all we need to do is to call this particular function, then provide the 2 numbers we intend adding. Do you understand? That's how function works. So if you have a function that handles login, anywhere in your app you want to log in, you don't need to start with declaring a login function or start to mode another login function. No, you just call that particular function that performs that particular action. Then you run it with the parameters involved. So if we go back to our console now, and let's check, we'll see that we have 12 and 182. The first console log adds multiplies 3 and 4. Then the second console log multiplies 13 and 14. We can go as far as adding as many numbers as possible. But we don't need to start with declaring the add two functions. No, you just once you declare it, then use it based off that parameters. Do you understand? So now practically done this. We can illustrate that coming here and say, okay, for our three numbers, let's do x, y, z. Then we'll come back and say x plus x plus y plus z. Something came to my mind now. I'll illustrate it moving forward. But let's test this out again and see. So if I console log add three numbers, and I say the three numbers we are adding is 10, 15, and 20. Now, if I go to my console, let's see what we'll see. Undefined. Can anybody remind me why we are seeing undefined?
You did not add the
If
return
we
key.
return.
Yes, perfect. I want that to stick with us. So always remember to add the return keyword here. So you're adding the return and you are going back to our function, which is writing on my screen. You are going back to the function to see, and perfect, we have our 45. So 45 now is a result of the 15 plus 10 plus 20 that we added gives us 45. Now let's practicalize and let's test out something. So now you notice I'm saying x plus z plus
Abdul, before
x
you go forward,
plus
please,
y plus z. Now let's switch it up. Let's switch it up. Let's say z plus x plus okay. Yeah, I'm with you. You said
can you hear me? There
what is
was
trying
one
to speak.
assignment you gave us. So when I tried to do it for my hand, the
Can I
very
go on?
first,
Someone's trying to say something.
hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there was one assignment you gave us
You are
that if we
breaking
were
up. I
to
can hear you
add,
now. You said
we are to add one more parameter. For instance, let's deal with this first one that you gave us, that functional two number, that we have two parameters
yes,
there. That what if we add another, rather than
yes,
when we want to put this is argument, this parameter 3 and 4, we now added 3. We now added 3 parameter, probably we added 3, 4,
yes,
5. That will, what will it give us? When I try it from my end, is only deal with
yes,
this A and B. Then the
yes.
other case, because you gave us two scenarios to work with, that if you have 3 parameters and you now
Yes,
put in 2 arguments, then that one is return not a number.
yes.
So
Okay.
that's
Thanks
what
for pointing that out. Also, yes,
I
thank you for pointing it out. So I gave an assignment last time I talked about functions, but that was like to you guys because I wanted to touch on it, but no, I won't do that. Thank you for pointing that out. So there are instances where we have a particular number of parameters. So what happens if you pass less parameter or more parameter? And I said you guys should go out on your own and test it. Let me clean this from the screen. I don't know why. It's not right on the screen. It's not fair to that. So as I was saying, yeah, let me minimize this. So there are instances where you can enter more parameters and less parameters. And I said you guys should go outside and test what happens if you add um, various parameters to it. What happens? So Kennedy pointed that out. So back to what I was trying to say now. So here we have z plus x minus y. So now we're going to test something out. And I want you guys to work with me. As I've explained earlier, that we have 3 parameters here, and we also have 3 parameters here. So ordinarily, the first one takes the first, the second one takes the second, and the third one takes the third. But Are we really sure it does that? Let's try to particularize. So if x now becomes the first parameter here, and z becomes the first, x is here and y is here. Let's give y like a value that is very, very good. So let's say 115. So if I run the console now, let me move this two out. If I run the console now, what are we expected to see? Does this still follow the same line? Or z becomes 10, x becomes 115, and y becomes 20?
No, to follow the same route, like Z is Z and
Or what
Y
I
is.
expect to see on the console? Just to find
So it's going to be 10
yeah, so
minus
automatically
115, 10 plus
regardless,
115 and then.
you said what happens there automatically? It should be 20 plus 10 minus 115. Does anybody have an alternate or a different opinion? Nobody. So let's check our console and let's confirm that. So let's see what we have on the console. We have minus 185. So what happens ordinarily is that it still follows the same route. It has z. Z here in this case is 20. Then x here in this case is 10. The minus this. So regardless of how you put your flow or you arrange your character inside here, what determines what fixed what is how you align it here. So x is 10, y is 115, and z is 20. So we've discussed basically how to use the function, how to create a function, the parameters in the function. Let me body man this. Yeah. So what happens in the function, the parameters in the function, and how to use the return keyword, and why we use the return keyword. Like other data types, like the objects and the array. If you remember when I said we can create an array, let's say const array is equals to new array. And I also said we can do the same thing for an object, create an object with the object keyword. You can also do that if you want to create a function, in as much as you might likely not see it outside, but just for teaching sake. So for instance, you want to create a function with a function keyword. You can say const func. Let's use func because we can use function. And who can tell me why we can use function here? Can anybody tell me why we can use function here? I explained that in our last class. There are some words that are reserved in JavaScript. So function are those words. So you can't name your variable function. You can't name your variable else, if, delete, const. So function is also a keyword that is reserved in JavaScript. So let's say I'll add my function. So this will go. Then I'll come here and say new function. Similar to what we did when we defined our array, I'll say new function. Now, what this take in is a bracket. Now, note the first part of it is the parameter. So let's do mirror this add two numbers. So we can as well say, okay, I'm expecting A, I'm also expecting B. But once you are done with it, kindly return A plus, let's just multiply by B. Now declared my function. I'll say, okay, my function now is a new function. I'm using the function constructor here. So what this does now is the first value you enter, depending on how many values you enter now. So the values you enter basically, so if I enter another value here, basically, it becomes 3 parameters. If I enter 4, it becomes 4 parameters. So the last tag here becomes the code that executes in your code. So you can come here and say, okay, let's say console.log, and let's call it as we used to call. Let's use 5 and 6 this time. Let's comment this out so it doesn't interfere. And let's check our console. So what happens automatically is if you go on our console, you are seeing 30. And 30 is coming from 5 times 6, as you notice. So this first tag here becomes the first meter. Then the last tag here becomes what runs inside the function call. So A is the same thing as this, B is the same thing as this. Then this particular action here is the same thing as this. In as much as you might likely not see this outside, but it's good to just have it back of your mind that you can also create a function like this and you pass like the parameters and the function in a string. So if you remove this from a string now, then it becomes error. As you can see, it's getting an error. So you have to include them in the string. So we'll put this on the side and keep it just keep back of your mind that there's a possibility you create a function like this. So we've discussed 3 ways of creating a function using the function keyword, using the const, and using this. You can also do many things with the function. Now let's try something. So let's say let me comment this out. And let me declare a function here. So let's say my function, and I put 5 here. Now my function is just 5 tickets. Then I'll say, okay, let's say function keyword. Then let's see my func. Then I'm saying 5. Let's see accept y. No put number there. Then what we'll do is that we'll return y multiplied by y. Let's fix this func keyword. Yes. So let's now console.log, or should I rather save this in? Okay. So now basically I have a function 5, and notice that this particular function is above this. So let me console.log this so we can see what happens in the console. So let me remove this, then put console.log. Yep. So we declare our function here, and we are putting our console.log here. But remember, I said something about how JavaScript files run. So they go from top to bottom. So down your mind now, let's just play it in our head. Okay, if this code wants to run, I know we've done something similar to this. If this code wants to run, what do you think happens, or what happens? Let me meet you guys so we can discuss on that. So if this code runs now, you can unmute your microphone to speak. If this code runs now, what are we expected to see on the console? Anybody?
25.
25. Okay, does anybody have like a different opinion?
It will give us everything up. It will not show the function.
Undefined.
Yeah.
It will give
Like,
us
It should show
Because that's wrong.
undefined.
undefined. So we have 25.
Undefined.
We have
You write the
anybody else?
function first.
He said
It will write the function back for us.
if you write the function back for us, so you are expected to see this in our console. Is that what you mean?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now let's go to our console and check moment of truth. So let's say we have, oh sorry, it's stuck. So let's come back here and see. Let's refresh. And we are seeing 25. But this is strange because ordinarily I've not defined this particular function before I called it. Because if you go back to our code, let's go back to our code. The call is on line 17, but I declared the function in line 19. It's not supposed to run because JavaScript is not supposed to have an idea of what happens below a particular code. That's how it works. But there's a concept in JavaScript called hoisting, hoisting. So hoisting basically is in JavaScript is the ability or the process of declarations being moved to the top. And this is why function key is different from the const key. And I'll just show that to us now. So let me mirror this. Let me just duplicate this down and I'll explain to us perfectly. So I'll comment this one out. I'll comment it out and I'll change this to const. So let's change it to const. My function, then come here and say equals to this, and come here and add this. So I've converted this particular function to this. But what I did is I used an arrow function, and basically, I just rewrote it. Now let's leave our console here. What do you expect to see on the console if you go back? Anybody?
Undefined.
Undefined. Why are we saying undefined?
Use a constant key.
Can anybody ask us why we are saying undefined? He said
Because you declare the console at the top and you declare
yes,
the console.
I
You declare
declared
the
it
console.
specified. But I mean, it's the same thing. There's a function here. And when we check it out, we saw 25. The same function now, we are checking it, and you guys are telling me undefined. So let's confirm that basically. So if we go and we are seeing reference error, cannot access F my font before initialization. Now the difference between the const, like I already said, there are use cases where you can use my function or the function keyword to declare a function and using const. So if you're using function, it allows hoisting. So you can as well say, okay, in the future, I'll declare a function. Once you declare this function, help me bring it to the top. So what happens automatically here is it hoists. If you're using the function keyword, let me go back to our VS Code. So if you're using this particular method of calling, automatically it hosts for you. So it takes this function and bring it to the top. So what happens now is this particular line 17 has access to it because in JavaScript, it already called it for you in the front. Do you understand? But we're using const now. This const does not accept it. Const is saying, okay, they have declared me in line 23. Anybody that wants to use me now must use me from line 24 below. So line 25 and 26 access to the function. But if you are above line 23, that's from 22, 21, 20, you can't have access. If I move this now, let me duplicate it and I move it down and I comment this one out. Let's comment all this out. If you go back to our console now, we'll see that everything works perfectly. We get our 25. Because why? Now this console.log has access to this. So that's where the concept of hoisting comes. Hoisting basically is the behavior in JavaScript that takes your declarations to the top. So with function keyword, you can perform it anywhere and call it even if you have not gotten to that line, and automatically hoist it for you. If you're using the function, if you're using the const keyword here to create your function, then that is not possible. Is there any questions that you got that?
Please repeat this. Why we need this function key and this const. Repeat that part again.
Okay, no problem. I'll do that now. So basically, I'm saying that if, for instance, just a minute, press something. Okay, yes. So I'm saying basically that there are two ways of declaring your function. We have this particular way using your function keyword, and we also have the using of const keyword. So using of const keyword is you use the constant, then name your variable, function name, add your parameters, then add the block of code that will execute. Now there's a concept in JavaScript called hoisting. So hoisting basically is saying, okay, this particular declaration, I want it to happen on top. That's what hoisting is. So hoisting is taking your declaration and putting it at the top of your JavaScript. Do you understand? Now, if you are using the const keyword, this is practically impossible. Do you know why? Because if you're using the const keyword, you can only access that particular function you declared after you declared it. So if I move this particular console log up now, it doesn't have access to it. If I move this one, let's console log this out. So this particularly takes the normal behavior that I expected to see in JavaScript. It runs the code from line 1 to line 26. So what happens is this run, then it came to 22 and it ran. Now, if you look above from line 1 to line 21, there's nowhere we are declaring my form. So to JavaScript now, this is not possible because I can't see my form anywhere. So I can't execute this code. So it returns an error. It runs a reference error saying, okay, I can't reference this my form code. Help me find it because I didn't see it. Do you understand? But it's quite different if you're using the function key. So the function key basically allows hoisting. So what happens automatically now is if I also move this upward, so let's say I move this upward now. Once I run the file, the function keyword automatically gets hoisted. Do you understand? So it makes it accessible to all calls that needs my function. So if you go back to the console now, in as much as I'm declaring this one before initialization is done, it still picks the value because this function key is hoisted. Hoisting basically is declaring values at the top of your code. Is that clear enough?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. You're welcome. Think the other answer.
Yes, please. What are the case scenario whereby the const key is used to declare a function?
So const is used basically when you are sure that okay, you don't need this value to change. Like I said earlier, it's based of preference. You can as well do this, and this is even less stressful self because if you do this, then you can declare or you can use your function and you can use the variable name anywhere in your code and you don't get an error. Do you understand? But once you're using the const keyword, you use that okay, this const you've declared it, and make sure I declare it before initialization. But you know that this is constant. Do you understand that? Okay, it's not changing anytime soon. I'm not going to change the name. I'm not going to use the name. So it's constant. So the const basically is just constant. There's no particular preference to say, okay, use const keyword here and use function keyword here.
As
As you can
in
also see, the
practical
function
usage, like is it preferable? Maybe when you want to create a login, that's when they use this const to declare the function and the like in a practical sense.
you can also, like I said here, you can use this function keyword to make a login, like a login function. And it works the same way if you use this. There's no particular advantage for this const keyword over the function. Like I noted, the function has more advantage because it allows hoisting. So there's no say, okay, this is like a first scenario for this. Why personally, like I love using this is because of the arrow function. Now, I would love to go deeper, but we'll get there. So I'll tell you, for instance, now, yeah, where you can okay, no, I could just stick with me. Put your question at the back of your mind. When we get there, I'll explain to you guys. Like I said, I'll just explain what hoisting is, advantage. Just hold it at the back of your mind. Because if I start talking about that now, then I might go deeper than I've planned. Do you understand? So just stick with me. Keep your questions at the back of your mind. Then I'll answer it for you. Is that clear?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So let's move forward. So now we've talked about hoisting and the advantage of this particular way of calling your function to how to call your function ordinarily. So now let's move furthermore to how to invoke your functions. If you stick with me throughout this class, you'll notice that the particular mistake I make almost all the time. I usually use functions and I don't call them. Now to call a function, and I'll illustrate that to us now. So let's say let's use our add two numbers. So let me log this out. Let me do this out. So basically we have a function that has two numbers. So to access these two numbers now, what we did basically is saying, okay, console.log. Let me write this way to clear. I'm saying console.log, but I'm saying okay, add two numbers. Then for this particular action to work, you have to call it. So this is the call keyword. So once you add this particular bracket to it, yeah, you've called the function. So it's a way of calling the function, invoking the function, as you can put it in some cases. So you can call the function, you can invoke the function.
Jinadu,
So
please, can you mute yourself, Mr. Jinadu?
let me do that. I apologize. Let me do that for you guys. No issues. I apologize. Let me do that. So I've muted you guys. Then once we need to talk again, I'll meet you guys. So basically, once you want to invoke a function, all you need to do is just add this bracket to it. So what happens now is that you've called it. Now, in this case, we need to call it the parameter. So you're adding our 6 and our 7, or 6 and 6, or 6 and 7, as the case may be. So what I've done now, I've invoked this function. I've also invoked it with a parameter. Do you understand? So this is how you call your function ordinarily. And if you perform an action and you say you want to do something and you don't call it, you don't get reference on console. And I'll illustrate that to us. So let's go back and see console.log and I just see add to numbers. If I say add to numbers and I check our console, who can just your imagination, what do you think we see on the console? So let us let me see guys. Let's check. So I'm calling this now. What do you think we'll see on the console? Can anybody just use their imagination?
Victor, so undefined.
Undefined. Okay, we have undefined.
Not a
Anybody
number.
A, B.
Not a
we have
number.
A. Okay. Can anybody have anything else to say? Okay, now so let's check our console and let's confirm that. So we have this our console is here. Notice we have that function that I replaced. So the F here is the function. So I clicked on it. Let's go back.
Not a number.
F basically is the function, and it calls the functions out to us basically. So if you don't have your call, what it replicates is replicates the function back to your console. So but for you to execute that particular action, it's meant to execute. You have to use your call. So once you evoke it toward the parameter, as we've always done, 10, 20. So if we check our console now, we'll see 200 because 10 times 20 is 200. So that's how we call. Now let's say there's an instance that we want to create like a sum function, a function that adds numbers, but we don't know the number that is like if it's 100 number is accepting, if it's 200 numbers accepting, if it's 400 numbers accepting. We have no idea. But the task is create a function that adds number. If you see this now, now this is a discussion class. I want to see how we think because JavaScript or as developers, you have to think very, very wide. So if you have a function now, say okay, Kende or Fauzia or Adama or Divine, I need a function that sums number function. So let's talk. What comes to your mind? What comes to your mind?
So can you try to say that again? Sorry.
Now we want to create a function that adds number. As we've done before, we have a function that adds two number. Where you know that okay, this function accepts only two numbers. We also have a function that adds three numbers. We look at this function accept three numbers. Now I'm saying okay, let's create a function that just add number. We don't have an idea of how many numbers we're expecting, or if the user is going to give us 3, 5, 10 numbers, but we need that function that adds numbers. What do you think we can do? It's just out of the blue. I'm not expecting anything stupid, but just tell me what comes to your mind, your thought process. Anybody?
Function some numbers.
I just want you to explain to me what happens behind the scene or what comes to your mind. You don't need to think it deep. You don't need to check. Just tell me what you're thinking of. You don't need to be correct. So don't
Okay.
bother to be correct. Just tell me what you're thinking of.
Okay. I want to try.
Okay, yes.
I don't know how it could be, but I'm just trying to reason a bit logically here. Maybe
Okay,
what will happen is exactly maybe what we could do or can do is the place where we are declaring this function, either we are using the const or the function, then we'll give it the variable and equate it. So where we are defining the parameters, we will now define the parameters, and then where we are putting the return,
Okay.
we also use that particular distance. So the console.log in this case, instead of we putting the number there, we will now put the input. We'll refer it to where we'll have it will receive the input from the user.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I see it, and it's valid at least to some extent here. But when working with JavaScript, there's a particular method or a parameter or a way we can access several values. Yeah. So there's what we call rest operator. I had intention of talking about is when we get to the operator segment, because we have operators in JavaScript. We have the rest operators, we have the spread operators, we have the knowledge operator, we have different kind of operators. And those operators helps in a way to get things going. But for this particular use case, yeah, they have what we have the rest operator. So the rest operator basically allows you to like treat an infinite amount of numbers like an array. Do you understand? So what it does is, okay, yeah, we have a function. Let's start. Let's say const sum. Then we have our is equals to this. Now we declare our function. So this particular function, it has to do something. It has to accept numbers. Then after accepting numbers, add all the numbers together. But we don't know what that numbers is. Do you understand? We can come and say, we can just come here and say norms. So these norms now basically is the numbers we are accepting. But there's what we can do to these particular norms that spreads out all the numbers being passed. So if it's one number that is passed, it will take the one number and keep it there. If it's 10 numbers that is passed, it will take the 10 numbers and keep it there. Just add 1, 2, 3. So what you've done now is you've used the rest operator. Now there's the rest operator and there's the spread operator. They are somehow similar but works differently. I'll expatiate when we get there. But for now, let's talk about the rest operator. So what I'm doing now is that we've assigned numbers to the number of values or inputs that are coming in. We don't know what the input is. Do you understand? But let's say, okay, now this particular parameter accepts a number. Once you get a number, help me do something. Take all those numbers, then lay them on the ground like an array. Every number, if the user enters 10 numbers, give me that 10 numbers as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If it enters 50 numbers, give me the number as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what happens is automatically it do this for you as a parameter. So for instance, now the user enters, let's say 50 numbers. What automatically happens here is it duplicates that 50 numbers into 50 parameters for you. Do you understand? And let's say, okay, we're adding. So let's say we need a sum, basically. And this is where the let keyword comes in. So let's say let total equals 0. Do you understand? And for this total now, we have to use a loop. I'm just explain something to us here. So you don't need to know how this works, try for the loop, because I'll still go in depth as the loop. But for now, just work with me. Do you understand? So let's say for as a keyword is used as like a loop operator. So there's like the for, if, while, to. There are many operators used in looping. Do you understand? But for this particular case scenario, let's use for. So I say, okay, what we've done now is let I of norm. So we have assigned norm to I, but as a looper. So this I now is the one that loops in norm, and I'll explain it to you now. So let's say we have an array. Let's come here. Let's say console.log. This might get very confusing. I don't want to go far, but I'm just trying to point out something here. So let's say sum, and for this sum, let's pass in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So pass in 10 values here. Do you understand? And this 10 values basically is saying, okay, we have a function that has number. What I expect, because if you look at the parameters here, then there's no indication of 10 parameters. But we know we're expecting numbers. What happens automatically now is that we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So those numbers we added here now spread out like an array inside this particular parameter box. Do you understand? And that's where this particular rest operator comes in. It takes this whole number, then spread it out for you like a parameter, so you can use it here. Now, we've said, okay, we don't know what our total is, but let's say our total is 0. Let's just keep it here. Do you understand? So for now, our total is 0. What we can do is here, let's use sum. Instead of let's use sum, so it will be easier. Let's say our sum is 0, because we want to add all this number. I want to get the total sum. This line that I've written here now is where we perform the operation. This operation basically says, okay, this let I of sum. So this I of sum now says, okay, this I will go in this bracket one time, go in bracket two times, go in the bracket as many times as there are numbers here. So he said, okay, it will go in this bracket once. You pick one, then you come and say one. What happens to one? Come again and pick two. Come again and pick three. Come again and pick four. Come again. So he picks it the number of times you have here. Do you understand? So we can easily say, okay, now we have our sum. So let's say sum is add what's your number. So what happened now is we have 0 as this. So it holds it. Once this one comes here, it says 1 plus 0, it becomes 1 here. It comes again and says 2. Remember, here is 1. It says, okay, 1 plus 2 becomes 3. Here is 3 now. So it comes again and says 3 plus 3 becomes 6. Here is 6 now. It comes again and says 6 plus 4 becomes what? 6 plus 4 becomes 10. It keeps 10 here. Come again. 10 plus 5 becomes 15. Come back here and keep 15. Come back again. 15 plus 6 becomes 21. Come back here and keep 21. Come back again and say 21 plus 7 becomes 28. So it goes like that, keeping the previous value as the sum. So once it's done, we can return sum. So let's come here and return sum. Then we'll check the console and would accept questions if you guys have questions, because definitely I know you have questions. So now we've done this. So instead of using sum, let's use because this is the illustrator. Yeah. So let's go back to our console and confirm what we have. So we have, let's clean this particular one. Let's clean the console of some areas. Let's clean this one so don't get confused. So let's go back to our. So if we check, we're having 55. So if you add all these values together, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10, everything here is 55. I'll accept questions, then I will explain this for us. Note, you don't have to totally understand it because I'll treat looping if you go forward. I'm just giving you guys like a tip of the iceberg, or I'm giving you guys a trailer or like an advertisement of what will meet in front. But what you should know that there's a particular way you can accept all the values or spread all the values as they are expecting, then use that values to do something. So if you have any question, you can ask now. But remember, just know, okay, there's something like this. I'll definitely expatiate on it moving forward. Any questions? Let me see. See, hi.
I say I don't understand. This for
You,
loop that
I can't hear you. Said.
I said that I'm confused with this your for loop.
Speak louder. I can't hear you, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You said.
I said that please explain that for loop again. This loop.
Finding it very difficult to hear you. Can anybody like interview what you see? Or you can type it out in the chat
He
box.
said he doesn't.
He said what?
The for loop. The for loop.
The volume.
Four.
I think he wants you to come
okay,
again. I think he wants you to explain again.
Okay, I'll do that. Kenny, what's the question?
Sum. Can you hear me? This less sum is equals to 0. Is it compulsory we put it there in the block of code?
Yes, it's compulsory because you need something to hold it for you. Do you understand? That's, if you remember when I said there's const and there's let. So let is when you initialize the value and you say, okay, this value help me hold it. Like I rightly said when we started creating variable declaration. Now you need, like I explained it, saying, okay, let's take it again. Let me explain it so you guys understand. Now we have a function, and that function accepts is the function duty to add all numbers. Now we don't know the numbers, like we don't know the amount of numbers the user is going to add. It might be 100 numbers, it might be 50 numbers, it might be 1 million numbers. We don't particularly know the numbers. Do you understand? But there's a way to say, okay, the numbers you're expecting, kindly help me spread it out, or kindly help me put it in an array. Can you say, okay, A, comma B, comma C, comma C, comma D, like we've done up here. But since we don't know it, kindly do this for me. Now, to make that possible, we are going to put these 3 dots in front of the norms. So I'll clean this out now. We have our variable. Our variable is the number we are expecting. Do you understand? What we can just do is say, okay, we're expecting numbers. That number we're expecting, 1, 2, 3. This 1, 2, 3 dots you added now automatically convert all those parameters into A, comma B, comma C, comma. If it's like 1 million numbers pressing enter, it will help you arrange those things in parameters. You understand? So it basically helps in converting the numbers the user enters into what the function can work with. Do you understand? Now, our next step, like I is initializing our sum. Remember, I'm looking for the total number. Do you understand? If you're looking for a total number, then you must have like a baseline or a starting line, because at the beginning or at the initializer is 0. Since you don't know the number, you say, okay, let that number that I'm expecting be 0. If you say 10 now, if you go and check the console, you notice that the number will be higher than like this normal sum by 10. So let's confirm that. Let's go to our console. We are saying 65, but initially we have 55. If we go back now and let's go to our code again. If you go to our code now, we'll see. Let's increase this to 100. We'll see 155. 155. So this sum basically holds the initial value. And since we don't know what the value is going to be at the end of the day, we can just say our sum is 0. So anything that will be added to the 0. Now for the next line, which is this 4. So 4 basically is a term used for looping. Do you understand? And you don't really need to understand it as the goal currently, because I'll still treat looping as a different class. But what I'm trying to say is, pressing the 4 key here now, I say, okay, 4, first off, we are going to loop. Once you just say 4, it means that you are going to loop. Do you understand? And looping basically means we are going into the particular parameters one by one. So you are looping until a particular condition is met. Do you understand? So let's say, okay, this loop we are looping now. What you need to do first is to initialize a looper or the key that loops. So the particular key is I here. So I'm saying that that's I of numbers, meaning that I is going to go into this place. So the amount of time there's a number inside. So if you have 1 million number here, it means that I will go inside this place 1 million times. If you have 50 numbers there, it means I will go inside this place 50 times. What happens behind the scene? And I'll illustrate that to us now. So what we have now is we have 10 numbers here, 1 to 10 here. So we've thought that, okay, since you are the looper or the key used to looping, what you do for me is that kindly go inside this array or this number the user provided. For every time you go inside that, collect that number and add it to the sum. So let's say now what happens is, or what happens behind the scenes, it says it goes into the array once. So you say 1. As it comes, you say 1 plus 0. If you add 1 plus 0, it gives us what? 0. Then it goes again and say, okay, now 0. Sorry, 1 plus 0 is 1. For the circle. So 1 plus 0 is 1. Pardon me for that. So now it goes again. Now we have our first loop. This is our first loop. Let's say first loop. First loop. Then it comes again and says, since we have 1 here, let's go again. So now 1 is the starting value. It comes again and picks 2. So we have 2 plus what? The 1 that you have here initially. Then it becomes what? 3. Then this is the second loop. Second loop. Then it comes again. Since we have 3 now, what do we do again? Come to the value here and it says 3. It picks this value 3. Then add it to the previous one. We have 3 plus what? Plus 3. Then we have what? 6. Then this is the third loop. Then it goes like that, picking each value, adding it to the sum of the previous loop. Do you understand? So if you take this down to 10, what you end up having is 55. Do you understand? If there are any more questions, I'll take. If not, we'll move forward. I should come again, explain the loop. Are there any questions? Since I've touched what I need to touch. Remember, you don't have to have like fully graph it. You don't have to fully graph it now. Yeah, I'll come back to this and every type of loop we have. But for now, just note that there's a way you can spread out all the values that you expect from a parameter, then work with it inside of the function. Yes, Adam, I'm with you.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. So just for me to have a clarity here, you've
Yes,
explained the let I of norms as I being the looper, and then
yes,
to go each time inside the array to each time. Then
yes.
what about the sum plus equal I? Is
I.
it that one that is it that one that does the
So
addition
that
each round?
some plus I is what I'm doing here for you guys now. So I've
Okay.
explained this now, saying I should go inside this place. Yes. But every time it goes in, what happens is it takes the sum and adds it to the value. So the first time is going, remember the sum is 0, but the first value here is 1. So it will be 1 plus 0, it gives you 1. Automatically, the sum becomes 1. Do you understand? So if you go the second time now, it takes 2 here and add it to the one that was here before. So 2 plus 1 becomes 3. Automatically, this one becomes 3. Then it goes again and picks 3 here. If you pick 3, you say 3 becomes 3 plus 3 becomes 6. Automatically, this one becomes 6. He goes again and picks 4. So 4 plus 6 becomes 10. Then this one becomes 10. He goes again. He keeps going, keeps going, keeps going until he gets to the end. Is that clear?
Yes. So plus equal to, okay, I think when we get to operator, you will explain.
Yes, when I get to operator, I'll explain that to you.
Thank
But
you.
this plus equal to is saying take the value of this and add what you have from I. So every time you go, take the value you have from this and add what you have to I. That's it. Comfy, what's up? This last question I'll take, so we can move. If not,
Yeah, Abdul. Yeah. I want to ask, instead of us
yes.
writing console.log sum and writing all
Okay.
these numbers in array,
Yes.
is there no short form we can use instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yes.
Okay, so the question is there a shorter way for us to do this particular action here?
Like
Is
as
that
in
is that
range,
Yes,
like
that's
as
my
in
question.
range.
okay? Yes,
Yeah.
you can perform a range, but you also have to use the loop keyword. So for instance, now let's say you want to do you want to fit in this particular sum from 1 till 1,000. You can as well loop from 1 till 1,000. There's a how you can do it with this for each loop. Do you understand? So I'll say let I equals, then I'll initialize the value. Now say for this equals this, then move forward. I don't want to go, if I start doing that now, then we'll be typing deep into loop. I don't want to go into the loop now because it's a function. But put it in your mind that definitely there's a way to provide 1 to 1 million self without having to write 1 to 1 million here. So you want to provide 1 to 1 million, you don't have to categorically write 1, 2, 3 to 1 million. No. There's a way you can feed up the value, look for 1 to 1 million, then provide the answer in this particular piece. Exactly.
Clear.
Chidima, I'm with you. I said last question, but I'll take you last. Last question, please. Go on, Chidima.
Okay, I thought the console we are putting here is actually what the user will be putting. I don't know if you get
So the
me.
console is for us to see it on our console. So our console basically is this particular one here. This is our console. So if you
So
come here, you see
practically, if it's a live something, this console is
then there's
like
like
what
an
the
input
user
field.
is putting.
There's an input field. I'll not demo it now because I demo is another one today. So let me just I did that with the prompts. If you're in my class, I use something like alert and prompts. So let me say prompt. Let's just say prompts. So let's say const user number is equals to prompts, and let's say enter a random number, and random number, I don't know it yet. So for this number, I don't know the number yet, but let's const log user number. So let me remove this. You don't get. So let's go back to our console now. So let's see. And let's go back to our the so let's refresh. So now, if you come here, we are seeing enter a random number. So let me enter 100 and let's see, okay. So let's check our console now. We see 100. So this is like a way for the user to interact with our backend. So in a real life situation, you might have an input field here for the user to enter number. Do you understand? So the user will enter 100, 200, 300, whatever number he wants to enter. So you can collect that number from your HTML file and access the value in your JavaScript. So when we start DOM manipulation, so there's something they call DOM manipulation in JavaScript. So that's basically how JavaScript interacts with HTML files. So you can declare a value or an input field and collect the value in that input field and use it in your code. Do you understand?
Meaning that each function you call, you have to console it.
For test purpose, yes. Because we are testing, and I
Okay.
need to show you guys what we are doing. That's why I'm using the
Okay.
console.log. So
But
anything I'm
without
doing
test
is
purposes, you don't need to put it.
no, without test purposes, you don't need to put console.log. So you
Okay.
just use your function as you need to use it. But because I need to show you guys what's happening, because I'm putting this console, they're using here as like a board or a mirror to show you guys. Do you understand? Is that clear?
Hi, could I ask a quick question? Sorry.
Sure.
One last question. What is the last one? No, I said one last question.
It's not a long,
This
it's
is
not
the
a
last
long
one.
one. It's not a long one. Don't worry. I just wanted to ask, is
Yeah,
there a
no
reason
issue.
why we're not seeing how JavaScript is affecting our HTML yet? Because that could really help, like, elucidate what we're learning. Because it's besides seeing it in the console log, like to see how JavaScript is changing our HTML. I think you just said something about that. Is there a reason why we haven't started that yet?
Yes, because if you are building, you have to go step by step. Do you understand? So we can't start treating interactivity when we're not aware of the basics. Do you understand? Definitely, and I'm the one taking JavaScript now, so I'm telling you guys for a fact that we'll get to a point where we build like an app front end like CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. You use JavaScript to control what happens with your HTML and CSS file. Do you understand? But for now, I want you guys to understand the basics, the rudiments of how JavaScript works. So if I start from the what's the name, the HTML part, then you guys will not know what function is or what array is or what this is. Do you understand? But for now, let me take you around the basics. And if you check your lecture, this basics of JavaScript. So this is just the basics of JavaScript. Once we move further into advanced JavaScript, then I'll teach you guys how to interact with your HTML file, how to fetch data from the backend, how to display those data that you fetch from the backend in the front end. How if you click on your menu, it pops down. If you click on the slider, it goes. Don't worry, just don't worry. We are in for it. I promise you guys. This week, next week, now two of us, now all of us will sit down, talk JavaScript. Forgive my language. Is that right?
Yeah, that's okay. I think it'll just help to bring some things to life. Like on W3
Don't
schools,
worry.
looking at the
Just
basic
keep it
side
at the
of
back of
things.
your mind that we get to it. Do you understand? But for now, we can't just skip that step.
All
And
right
if you
then,
notice, I
thank
started
you.
with basics. I started with what JavaScript is, how to declare variables, how JavaScript runs behind the scene, how to use objects and functions. So definitely we'll get there. Because if we move there now, then there's some things to skip and it will become more complicated for you guys. So just exercise patience. We should be done with all this week. So next week we'll move further into DOM manipulation. Is that right?
That's okay. Yeah, thank you. I don't even understand like what like most of what we're doing yet. I just thought maybe if I could see it, then I'll grab it more, but I'll wait.
Wait, you don't understand what we are doing here?
So I said some, not
Hey!
everything. Don't worry. But I understand. It's okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. Thank you.
This class for everybody here. In as much as I know, like, if you are teaching, then it's possible some people get it more than some people. It's completely normal. Do you understand? But I would love us to like carry ourselves along. That's like the purpose of class. So if you notice, if somebody say they don't understand something, I try my best to simplify it as possible. Is this your first time here? I'm only speaking to yourself. Is this your first time here?
No, it's not my first time. I've been attending. I just saw somebody's comment. Yes, my brain is blowing too.
Yeah, no, I'll start giving one examples now and then. Maybe you try to get one or two things.
No, I'm
But
following, and
basically,
I catch up with YouTube videos as well. Just yeah, I'll get there. I just wanted to ask if we could see anything in the HTML side so that we can just connect
so
the pieces a bit
I
more. But
promise you
I'll
that
wait.
once we get there, you see. Once you get there, you see. Don't worry. Just keep it in mind that it's it. But we have to like do the basics first before we do that. So yes, that's like the basics of function calls, and we've talked severally on how to use our functions. We spoke about the spread operator, and this is like a way to also collect values from the front end. But we'll build a sign up form, and we'll check validation for the sign up. I'm giving you guys tips now. One of the projects we'll build and it's from front end mentors. Okay, let me just no, I can't do that now. But just put it in mind that we are going to build a project, front end and back end. No, front end basically. But we'll use JavaScript for it. We'll build like a login page or a sign up page. Then once the user enters a value that is not correct, we'll signify to the user that this value entered is not correct. And it to be the to be us interacting with the HTML file. We can today's Wednesday. Okay, you know what we'll do that on Thursday. We'll do that tomorrow. So we'll pause and do something more practical tomorrow. If that is what will make you guys grasp it better, then we'll build like a small project tomorrow, a login form. But I'll make sure I'm doing the basics for you guys to understand. Tickets. So can we go on? There's no more question. So what we'll do now is remember when we talked about objects and I said you can use several ways or several data types and objects. So let's illustrate something briefly, because once starting with function, then anything can go inside. So let's say for instance now we have an object. So const, let's say person. And for this class we'll be using SAS2. Yes, that's an name. So we'll say const name is equals to SAS2. Then let's go on and say SAS2's class is JavaScript. No, she wants HTML. So let's say it's HTML. She wants to interact with HTML. Now we have SAS2 and we have the class is most interested in. So we can say, okay, we need a function that's practically once we call this function, then it tells us what we need to know about a particular person. So instead of going on and say, oh, person that does name, person does class, no, we can also say, okay, likes, let's say likes. Then we can say likes is what a function. And that function, what it does particularly is tell us it returns this dot name. Now I'll explain this keyword here. Just hold on with me, and I'll say return here, return, yep, this dot name, and I'll say Sasu loves HTML and wants to see things work. No. So I'll come here and say love HTML and do plus, and let's put this dot class. Then I'll say plus. Yes. So this works now, and I'll tell us there are two ways of writing this particular thing I wrote here. I'll show you this to us in a bit. But what I've done now is I created a person object, and this person object has a name, has a class, and has a function inside that object. Now, what this function does basically is just return the person's name, what he loves, and the class he loves, then what he wants to do. So, you know what? How they say something is dynamic. So I explained to us what the meaning of dynamic is. How they're like different data, but the same layout. For those that were in our programming concepts. So if you have a dynamic page, and let me illustrate that to us. Let's say go on Twitter. Let's go on Twitter. Let's cancel this. So let's go on Twitter. Let's go on Twitter. So this is my Twitter account. I want to just show you what dynamic page is. So this is my Twitter account basically, and I want us to notice something. So this is my profile, and if you notice, this particular layer does not change. We have this layout set to be. So if I click on, let's say Samuel Ajayi now, Samuel Ajayi is another user. If I click on his name, I get the same layout basically, for different information here. Do you understand? I can also come here and click on NSAS now. If I click on NSAS now, I get the same layout, but different information here. So this particular person says passionate about justice, love, and peace. Samuel Ajayi says, let's see what it says. He says PhD candidate, nuclear physics, blah blah blah. And for mine, we have a villain tech, blah 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 blah. Now, if you notice, the layout is the same, but the text in each case is changed. Somehow similar to what we have here in our code. Now we have name, we have class, and we have likes. Now for this like particularly, all we need to do is say, okay, we just need the person's name and the person's class. So let's duplicate this. Let's duplicate this, and let's say person 2. And this person 2 is let's say divine strikes again. But divine loves CSS. If you notice there's a particular format here now. So if I click, I don't need to change anything specifically, because what this function key does here under each person is that it displays the like for us. Do you understand? So I can have a big object or a big array of objects, and that array of objects has many objects in them. And those objects, I want to display only the likes to our user. So I can say Starsu likes this, Divine likes this person likes this, that person likes this person likes this. Now, in this way, we categorically said, okay, we've made that particular instance dynamic, stating what each person and each person likes. Now, to access this now, we can do that with the function call. Very, very easy. You get. And that function calls now, what we just need to do is, hold on, my screen is off for a while. Thank you. I'm back. 1 minute. So for now, to go to our console now, let's console log our person 1. Let's console log person. So we can say console.log person and say person dot likes. Now something happened here, and I would ask us again. You guys can unmute your mic to speak. If I run this console, what is it on the console? Anybody?
We're
Your
going
Time
to
question.
will
see to show the function.
Huh?
Like to show the function, like it won't display.
I can't hear you.
They're going to see Stasul
Yeah.
loves HTML. I want to
Okay.
see.
I'm waiting to start to love HTML.
HTML.
Okay, nice. Who else? Yeah, let's make this very interactive. If I also log now, what do we do?
Yeah. What? Sure.
Anybody? Anybody?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Said.
It will show you the function, the arguments and the things inside the function, but it won't. How should I say it?
Yeah, I understand you perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. So, like we said earlier, and that's the mistake I myself make on some cases. We are not calling the function in this case. If you notice, we just said console.log person.likes. So what happens automatically is it just go to the person's object, then pick the like, then tell us everything that is here. So if we go to our console now, let's check our console. We have, so let's go back to our console. Let me clean this off. Let me clean this off. Yes. Go to our console now. We see we are seeing node. Perfect. Okay. Ah shit. Good. Yes, let's move this. Let's see and let's go back. Perfect. You can see our function return this dot name, and but don't see the instance of name here and the instance of class here. Only what we see is the function we're defining. So to make this work now, all we need to do is basically say, okay, come here and call the like. So once we call the like now, the instance will change. We go back to this, we should see Sasu loves HTML and Sasu loves HTML and what to see. I've done that here, but you get it yet. So let's come here and add space. Let's come here and add space. So basically, it's so now for this keyword, if you notice, I use this instead of just putting the name. I mean, I can come here and say name and I come here and say class. But there's a weird behavior, and this happens when you want to use or you're using a function in an object. What this does basically is saying that access the name on this particular object. Do you understand? So this keyword basically expose everything outside the function. Do you understand? But I like to say initially that if you have a function key or a function block, what happens in Rome stays in Rome. And actually, it's happening in Rome and it's staying inside here. We've not defined name as const as a variable. We've not also defined class as a variable yet. We just said name is a key and the value is Sasu. Class is a key and the value is HTML. But if I come here and say constant log name, you can't give me Sasu. You can't give me class because what? They're not a variable. So what happens practically now, or what happens automatically now? If you want to access any of this, it's simply using this keyword. So with this keyword now, you can access values outside the particular object block. Is that clear? If you are doing an object here, basically, you have to use this keyword. I'll go more into this, but for now, because you are still going to create method, functions and objects on larger scale. But on this particular note, if you want to access values outside that particular function in an object, then you have to put this keyword here. So what this keyword does is expose this particular function to the values outside it. So you have access to everything here. So I can come here and say, and I'll put ever. I'll put my comma here, so it takes it in and want to see things work. Yes, I can come and say most loved food is, and I'll see plus. If I just say food here, then if I click on it, it automatically infers it for me. It puts this dot food. If I remove just this now, and let's test it. I remove this and I put just food there. Let's see what happens. Please perceive it. Okay. Yes. Let's go back and check our console and see what happens. Now there's an object. There's an error. Food is not defined as object.likes. But I mean, I'm doing that here. Food is ever. But I likely said we didn't define it in the sense that we didn't use our const or we didn't say our let. We just said food is a key and the ever is a value. So this cannot practically read what is outside it. So for us to read it, you have to use this. So this now basically goes outside this function and expose all the value to it. So if you do this now, go back to our function, and refresh, you see Sasu loves HTML. I want to see things work. Her most loved food is ever. Do you understand? So this is where this keyword comes in play. So I would stop here for now because I've exceeded my time, and we'll discuss further or tomorrow. I'm still planning on what to do tomorrow because I wanted us to have a very, very solid foundation on these basics. So once we start interacting with HTML files, it will be easier for us to understand. So I don't go and do something and you guys ask me, what is this? Or how is this? Or you are confused. Because there are still many things to do. I've not touched the loop, I've not touched operators. So Sasu and everybody concerned, you guys should just have patience. Definitely. Everything we've done here, we're going to repeat it on a much larger scale. Because once we start working with our HTML file, and we have to perform a particular function, Then we write plenty codes, plenty codes. And in those codes, we'll be looping, we'll be attaching many things to it, we'll be interacting with CSS files. But we have to have these basics first. Do you understand? So I completely get where you're coming from. It spreads more light. You get to understand things much better once you start seeing things practically. But just hold it in mind that let me understand this first. Let me grab this first. Then we'll move further. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Is there any question so far so good to what we've done that anybody wants to ask? And mind you, there are only a handful of things I can talk about. Do you understand? There are resources out there. I'll put them in the resources channel. I would employ you guys to go there personally. Yeah, and this is me saying the truth. JavaScript, even top developers now see JavaScript. I, as a person, I hate JavaScript. I don't even intend to change JavaScript initially. I want to take good for CSS and HTML because it's quite easier. JavaScript is very, very complicated. Do you understand? And you have to like get very settled and understand certain things. Do you understand? So don't just finish lecture, then you wait for the next one. No, you don't become a better programmer that way. Once you see something, try something. And then I always say, okay, you have a particular function, manipulate it. Your system cannot blow. It can blow actually. If you run an infinite loop, then your system will blow. But I don't think you can do that now because automatically you just crash your Chrome, then you can end your Chrome and start it again. That's how powerful JavaScript is. You can actually crash your browser. But on the lighter notes, you can just try it out. Go on your PC, create a function, put differences in that function, try to call differences in the function, and notice the behavior. Or, okay, this happens like this. If I do this, it does this. If I don't do this, it does this. Do you understand? So I would employ you guys to go behind the scene, work personally, because that's the only way you can get better. The more you do, the better it gets. So any questions so far so good before we say goodbye? Any questions so far so good? No questions. Wow, I'm happy. Oh, I didn't miss you guys now. Yeah, I didn't miss you guys.
Okay, I have
Is
a
Divine here?
question.
Yeah, shoot. I mean,
Okay. All what you explained today, what are we going to
yes,
call it? Is it
function.
okay, function?
Today's topic is Steven. Why are you writing on my days? Steven, why did you? Everything we did today is function.
Okay.
Any more questions? No more questions. I'm happy. It means two things. Either what I explained, everybody got it, or what I explained, nobody got it. But I would go for everybody got it. That's why there's no question.
The only thing where you need now to just know where then they do this thing. Me, I get my soft copy. I go arrange. I go print. I will arrange and you did already arrange. You could just print them as part of just like picture, cut them. Go give them.
Wow.
I have a document that covers this purpose. I'll find one for you. Come again. Okay. Yes, this is an instance. Yes, nice. This is an instance where you need to provide a value. For instance, like somebody asked if you want to write 1 to 1 million. This like an instance you can provide this value to the sum. So it loops from 1 so it gets to maybe 1,000 or 1 million or whatnot. So you provide that that as a variable, then pass it to your sum. It goes well. I've been an hour, done manipulation, don't worry, JavaScript might come, I bring one blow, kill, blah blah. Sir, please, what you can calculator assignment, you guys want to cheat. I'm not allowed that. You guys stop, sorry that I said.
No.
Am I a
It's
level
that,
that somebody
please, that's not the case. The case is this. We are not familiar with this thing to an extent. The truth is that we can go and do copy and paste from online, to be honest. But we want a situation whereby we will be walking through it. This is not going to be our final exam in life. We will still be faced with real-life practicals. If we are able to understand what you will teach us, follow that line, replicate it, do our assignment or project, from there, we will know that we are able to, we did this thing ourselves. We will still be faced with
No,
much
you
real
did it
life.
yourself. Okay, so you did it yourself again. I did this for you, then you executed.
Eh? No.
Understand it.
You can take, for instance, you can use a button. So if you do, okay, you are not going to be the one doing our CSS for us. You're not going to be the one doing our entire HTML for us.
No, it's
You
just
take, for
the
instance,
logic from me. You want the logic from me.
the logic, exactly. Like,
Is that what
okay,
you're asking?
take, for instance, if you put a
When is the
button
assignment
here,
due? When is the assignment due? When is it due? When is it
assignment
due?
is getting due tomorrow or next tomorrow.
Yeah,
Is
3
we
days
have
left.
like 2 days
When
left,
is it due?
Abby.
Yeah. 2 days left. Okay, now we'll do the first 30 minutes tomorrow. I'll discuss the logic for the calculator. I won't touch the Java CSS, but I might likely touch HTML because I have to interact with the values we have entered.
No problem.
But that,
Touch HTML,
yeah,
touch JavaScript.
okay,
Even
no
if we
problem.
do not have 5/5 and we have 3/5, it's still fair than not making a calculator functional at all. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
no problem. No problem. Let me stop recording because we are done here. Yes.